Let's talk Coach Ernst Middendorp. Who is Coach Ernst Middendorp? Coach Middendorp is a coach who has coached Kaizer Chiefs on two separate occasions. The first time being from July 2005 until March 2007. The first time he was at Kaizer Chiefs, he won 3 trophies. Firstly, the 2006 Absa Cup, which is the equivalent of the Telkom Knockout Cup, and the 2006 Super 8, which is the equivalent, I believe, of the MTN 8. He also managed to beat Man United in the 2006 Vodacom Challenge. The second time was famously Middendorp coached Chiefs from December 2018, taking over from Solinas during the season up until September 2020. His most famous things were losing the Nedbank Cup final and being on top of this league for most of the season, including having a 13-point gap at some point in the season, and ultimately losing the league on the last day to Baroka. So before we begin the video, guys, I'd just like to say that this is not a news or anything. This is just a creative discussion. I don't think in any way, shape or form Middendorp will coach Kaizer Chiefs. This is just a discussion that we have. It's intentional break. We're all bored. Middendorp was recently seen watching a Kaizer Chiefs game, so it just had me thinking, well, what would Middendorp do with this current Kaizer Chiefs squad? Would he do well? Do we consider what he did at Cape Town Spurs? Is he good enough still for Kaizer Chiefs? Just a talking point. Let's dive into the video, man. So the first topic where I would think Middendorp would do well at Kaizer Chiefs is the style of play. The style of play is the first thing we look at when you look at Kaizer Chiefs coaches or any coach in general. So when I look back at the lineup, 1920, I did my research and also in my memory, but you always have to do research when you do these videos. Middendorp's main lineup consists of a 4-4-2 with the main lineup. Here are the names who played the most minutes that season. Agbe is the goalkeeper, left back was Sassman, the centre backs was Matoho and Cardoso. Right back was Rifosla mainly, sometimes Khotso Muleko, whatever. The two midfielders was one defensive, one attacking, or one offensive minded. So the defensive midfielder was between Katsande and Akumeke, and then the attacking midfielders was usually Manulega before he left. Barkas and Bernard Parker would fill that role when he would play. The wingers were not fast wingers, were not pacey wingers, were technical wingers who were able to whip across in and come into midfield sometimes to assist the midfield too, which is Biliat and particularly Lebogang Manyama, used to be called the creator. And then the two big strikers up front was Nukovic and Castro. You would argue, obviously, this lineup was not the lineup they played every time. Lazarus Kambule would play, Bernard Parker would play in the wings also. Plani Zulu, Khotso Muleko, we've mentioned those players, would play also. Ngeza and Njabula Blom would also fill in roles also. So Middendorp's style of play was very basic. It was a direct type of football, was a football that is mainly known by South Africans as helicopter football. So basically just whip it into the two big strikers and they would find a way to hit it in. You've had some classic games, 5-3 Celtic, 3-2 Pirates, 2-2 Pirates, 2-0 to Chiefs against Sundowns. Remember young Njabula Blom playing left back, putting in a shift for the first team. That was Middendorp. It's very direct style of play, and I think he would do very well with the current Chiefs side. I think the back four, when you look back at the back four that he had, at Tower, he was aging, but he was good. Cardoso, not the best. A young 22-year-old Rifosla and a Sassman who was decent and had loads of potential. So I just think that with the current back line, with McCarthy, with Miguel, with Quiniga, with Dotley, with Rifosla, with Thabiso Munyana, I just think that he'd also find the best out of those 4 players. I think he made the best out of a very, very weak back four on paper. When you look back at Sassman and Vosla and an aging Tower and a Cardoso, that wasn't the best back four in the league, but he managed to do and compile a very good set of results with that back four. And then the midfield too, and then I think that just speaks for itself. I think he'd easily play Oxum Tetwa as the holding midfielder, and then he'd also play maybe Thabo Cele and Gospel Ngobo or Ndlovu next to Oxum Tetwa. So I would think that he would also find a way to play that 4-4-2. I think the two midfields don't change in a 4-2-3-1 or 4-4-2. It's still the same. And then when you have the inverted wingers, that's where it gets tricky. Some would argue that where doesn't do Shabalala fit in? I just think that he would play very well on the right or left wing. Remember that he doesn't play Elelepo, he doesn't play. I forgot to mention Tumisane Zuma. He didn't play pacey wingers off the starts. He played technical wingers on the starts. So Mdu Shabalala would play in one of the wing slots, and maybe a Pule Modi, and maybe or definitely maybe a Vilagazi on the wing. So imagine Vilagazi them two on the wings, technical wingers, and I think Vilagazi can put a cross in, provided that he can be trained, and do also I think these players can supply. So he usually plays maybe Cams. I know Pierre was a winger, but he wasn't the fastest of wingers. He was a technical winger, very good with wingers who are good on the feet, who are unselfish, and were able to supply those strikers. So then the front two, this is where it gets exciting. I just think the three strikers would be Lelepo, Ikotaro, and Da Silva. I think mainly Ikotaro and Da Silva, I think those two as a front two would cook under Middendorp. I think he would find the best out of those two. I think Da Silva, he's not Nukovic, nowhere near Nukovic as it stands, but I think if we can find those crosses, then he can have a very good threat like Nukovic. And then obviously a collecting striker like a Castro for the main guy, Nukovic, which is obviously Ikotaro. So, yeah, guys, let's not shy about that. I think Middendorp would find the best out of this lineup. So, and even if you bring in like someone like an Arne Slot, Pep Guardiola, Mikel Arteta, like Chiefs signed so many players. You can play a false nine, Kaizer Mayo. You can play a high intense game, counter-attacking football with the Dupree. We just have so many players in the squad. We can play any brand of football, literally. We've got all types of players. We can play any brand of football. If you want to play a technical game, you've got George Matlo, you've got Kopi Silinobo, you can play deep. And if you want to play, I don't know, a high line, a high line. So you've got pacey players like Dotley, McCarthy, Cross, pacey, not rapid, but players with decent pace who can play any brand of football. So I just think that Middendorp, Kevin Hunt, whoever, we can suit his style of play a lot. And then we have the use of youngsters. Obviously, Middendorp wasn't known to be using his youngsters, but even if you say he wasn't known for using his youngsters, I would argue that he helped. He didn't neglect the youngsters at all. If he didn't help them, it's fine, but he definitely didn't neglect the youngsters also. The youngsters who came through under Middendorp, Hospital Ngobo, was not a normal feature. Mashiane was a feature, 2 appearances in the squad. He wasn't a starter, nonetheless, but Hospital Ngobo and Mashiane, before they made 20 appearances each in the following season, including that CAF Champions League run, they were involved in Middendorp squad in the season prior. So he introduced Middendorp and Mashiane to us, and then he used Ngezana a lot, and he used Njabulo Blom a lot. I still remember that block against Sundowns. He did manage to keep the Chiefs culture of using youngsters. And obviously, I think the management does tell you in your contract that you don't need like youngsters. So I just think people like Nalili Tlongwane, Vilagazi, Villabai would benefit a lot under Middendorp. And then here are a few reasons why I'd be against Middendorp being a Kaizer Chiefs coach. He relegated Kitons Pros twice, and you saw with the Chiefs squad that maybe he wouldn't manage. Maybe he would have managed to relegate Kaizer Chiefs or managed to make us number 13 or whatever. Because I think once things go wrong with Middendorp, they really go down. It goes tits up once Middendorp loses the control. Once things go bad, they go really, really bad for Middendorp, and he can't save a sinking ship. So that's one concern I would have with Middendorp coming back to Kaizer Chiefs. Nonetheless, I think he's a very good coach, but again, maybe he's a dinosaur also. Would a 4-4-2 work in the current modern system? I don't think it would work. I think a 4-4-2 is outdated now. I think you need more numbers in the midfield, and I don't think the players now, they may not be smart enough to play those roles. I mean, you had Manyama and Billiard veterans, 29 years of age, 31 years of age at the time in 2020, who managed to invest into the midfield and helped the Gatsandes and Bakasis and Manulegas play football. I mean, manage the midfield battle. So even today, the midfield might get overrun or might lose the midfield battle because a Vilakazi and Mfundo or Velabai would not manage to I don't know, drift into midfield the right spots. Maybe do with Vilakazi, I don't think so. So that's my only concern with Middendorp. And yeah, that's the video, guys. I tried my best to do this video. Yeah, man, I just hope club football comes back. It's going to be a long time. AFCON also is going to take a lot of time. So you'll be seeing a lot of videos like this during the AFCON time. Yeah, man, let's just hope Chiefs is doing well. Does well when you come back, guys. I'm bored, guys. I'm bored. But it was a very good topic today. It was a very good topic, guys. Love. Thank you for supporting Chiefs Fan Center as usual. Love.